We will start the first week with this book, The Object-Oriented Programming in C++ by Robert LaFleur. So this is the fourth edition of the book. In this book, we have this basic chapters. Let me go. So this is the overview of the book. Um, the big picture, the basic discussion about like why we need C++, what is object-oriented programming, what is the difference between a normal programming language like procedural programming language, that is C, and C++. And then we have the C++ basics, like what is integer, what is float, different data types, how you can print a variable, how you can take input a variable. So if you have confusion or if you forgot how C work, you can go through this chapter, C++ programming basics. Today I will discuss about this chapter, and tomorrow we will discuss about loops and decisions. So and then we have the structure. We have talked about it a little bit about structure as well. And then we have functions. Function plays a very important role in C++. Why? Because in C we used to use function whenever we had a repetitive task, okay, or whenever we wanted to make a more cleaner or more efficient code. But in C++, it's not only about that. In C++, even if whenever we are using class just to take input or just to print something, we also have to use functions. In our last classes, you will see in the video lectures that I have recorded, we have practiced like a class where we can take input from the class and we can print from the class. So there are two ways we could do this. One was if the class variable was public, in that case we could access them directly from the main function. And if the class variable was not public, then we had to declare a function, okay, to set the variables. That means to assign values to the variable and print the variables. So you see that in C++, it's not only about the basic function, we need to use function for other tasks as well. Then we'll talk about class and objects a little bit. Okay, I have already introduced you about this, but we'll talk now in details. As you can see from the length of this chapter, it's almost a 45 page chapter. Then we'll talk about the arrays and string and operator overloading. So we're hoping by first term we can finish up to operator overloading, and then in the midterm we'll cover these chapters, that is inheritance, pointers, virtual function, stream files, and then we will try to do a project. So this is my whole plan, and this book will actually help you. And there's one important thing, that is chapter 15, STL. Okay, this will actually help us a lot if you can learn it. Okay, but given the time frame we have, it will be difficult to cover it. So inshallah I will try, but let's see how things goes. So before midterm, that is 28th of October, our target is up to this chapter, operator overloading. So I think we're clear. So this is all about the syllabus. Now let's go to the details of the first chapter. Now, I will not discuss the first chapter again, but let me tell you that what you need to, if you want to study this chapter, what you need to focus. So every chapter you study, you need to set some questions, okay, that you need, after finishing this chapter, I will be able to answer this question. So if I talk about this chapter 1, the big picture, the first thing you need to be make sure that you know the what is a procedural language. So in short, C is a procedural language. Then what is object oriented approach? Okay, so we started this topic a little bit. I have discussed them already in the first class. Then we have here you can find a small discussion about object. We know that object is like a variable to class, just like we have variables in other data types. Class is a customized data type, we can say, or data we can define classes of our own. Then we have the concept of inheritance, reusability, creating new data types. That is where the class comes in, and polymorphism and overloading. So I haven't discussed this yet, so you can skip this part for now. Okay, then go to C++ and C. I have already discussed that what is the difference between C++ and C. And then finally we have the summary. Okay, go through this summary section. So let me see if I can, let's start. So this is the first chapter, and again, just have a read. These are actually not that complicated, but it's good to have an idea. The more you will read from the book, the more clear idea you will have. Initially you feel a bit confused. uh, as a student, I also at first felt confused that why we need to use this class. This seems like extra problem, but as I started doing my project, it actually became much more clear. So if you guys have already done a project in C, then you will just right away see the difference. But if you haven't, don't worry. Whenever we start our project in C++, hopefully after midterm, okay, in that case, you'll be able to see the difference as well. Now, this is the summary of chapter 1. So let me discuss this a little bit. So object-oriented programming is a way of organizing programs. The emphasis is on the way programs are designed, not on coding details in particular. So we are uh, not that much concerned that how efficient our code in terms of algorithm are. We are want to emphasize on the how the code are designed. Okay, so the how do we design the classes, and then how we actually take input and so on. So OOP programs are organized around objects which contain both data and functions that act on the data. So we have already talked about that, right? A class is a term template for a number of objects. So class is basically a type that the objects follow. Inheritance allows a class to be derived from an existing class without modifying it. So this is one of the core concept of object-oriented programming, inheritance. So normally whenever in C or in programming language that doesn't have OOP, if you create a variable, let's assume you want to store the student's information. So you create a variable name, student ID, student other related information. Okay. Now you want to also store the teacher's information. So for that you create another variable. So student and teacher, they're a little bit different, but both of them have like same or some similarity between them. Both of them have a name. Teacher have a name, student have a name. Teachers have a father's name, student have a father's name. Teachers have their results. Whenever they actually get selected, obviously they get selected for their results, right? And then after that, student have also their results, previous results. Only the difference is that a teacher might have some other variables like salary, date of joining, department. Okay, then what is his post, lecturer, professor, and so on. A student might have a CGPA of his each course of the semester. Okay, which semester currently he is in, and so on. The teacher will have the courses he will take. Student have the courses he will do. So both of them have some similarities. So what we can do, we can create a class, okay, name man or name human. In the human class, we can use name, father's name, and the common attributes that we have. And then we can actually take that class, okay, and then create two new classes. One is student, one is teacher, and then add new variables. So we will talk about details about this, but this is a basic prototype that we use, that we call inheritance, that takes a class and then creates two classes by adding some new. Just think about it. So like we have ice cream. Okay, so let's thought ice cream is a class, and there are different flavors of ice cream. Okay, we have like chocolate ice cream, we have different customized ice cream. Okay, now what I can do, I can create different variables. One is for normal ice cream, one is for chocolate ice cream, one is for like customized ice cream, okay, where you add different types of flavors, Oreos and so on. Or what I can do, I can create one class ice cream, and then from that ice cream I can create two subclass. Okay, so what the subclass will do, it will follow the same ice cream class. Okay, and then it will add some more variables. So if ice cream class have a name, uh, so screen is shared, so let me type it here. So if the ice cream class have a name, okay, so let's say ice cream has a name, and let's assume price. So this is might be a class one. Okay, let's name it class A, class ice cream. Okay, my bad. So what you have to do, instead of creating a new variable, with, class is also of a data type. So instead of creating a new data type that will support chocolate ice cream, okay, what you can do, you can just say that chocolate ice cream derived from ice cream, and then just write flavor. Now what this will do, it will automatically add the name price with this one. So this is basically is equal to writing this name price. Okay, but instead of writing this two variable again, what we do, we just write that flavor, and all these two will automatically be added. Now this is just a simple example for two variables. Now think if we have like 100 variables here, okay, 100 functions here. If I need to add just one more, all I have to do is just add the new one and write derived, okay, and rest of it will automatically be added. So any customization you want to make, that will also be automatically, you can add that. So this is the advantage. Okay, now let's go back to our so this is the basic idea of inheritance. We'll talk about inheritance more, don't worry. This is just then C++ is a superset of C. What does this means? That everything you have done in C is available in C++. It adds the C language the capacity to implement OOP. So that's why uh, C language using as C++ is the superset. Okay, so C program now actually by learning C program, you'll be able to implement the object-oriented features directly. Just a little bit changes, and there are variety of other features we'll talk about. Like we have like in this one we have polymorphism, we have operator overloading, and so on. And finally, the UML, Unified Modeling Language, is a standardized way to visualize the programs. We'll see how this works. So this is the content of the chapter 1. And after finishing this chapter 1, I want you to able to answer like what is a C++, the difference between C++ and C, what is object-oriented programming, what is a procedural programming, and some basic definition like what is an object, what is class. Okay, so here you will find some of the questions. You don't have to practice them, but you can go through if you want. So this is all about the chapter 1.